Hey, what's going on, guys? I have a special guest in the studio today. This is Bob McBride. He's my music mentor. You might know McBride from about a year ago. I did the McBride series where I featured a record collection that he gave me, about 170 records, and featured 4 episodes where I started to go through the collection. So today, got him on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good, awesome, man. I'm really excited that you're here. We wanted to sit down a little bit and just talk rock and roll. You know, we're not music experts, we're not historians. Bob's a longtime music fan, music lover, also a musician, plays the drums, and played in various bands, local acts, and some fairly popular bands throughout the years. And I know I love watching you play, and really takes his talent and his craft seriously. So that's another side of Bob that's pretty cool. So we were talking about music, right? Music roots, and some of the music that I listened to as a kid that got me started collecting music and just a lifelong, you know, hopeless fan of music. What about you? What was some of your experience? What were some of the first bands that you heard?
Right. Well, you and I talked before about. I was born in 1953, so my parents didn't have rock and roll when they were real young. So I would be the first generation of that would have been under the rock and roll. You know, that mid-50s, the Everly Brothers and Elvis and Ricky Nelson, all that. So the first things that I would have heard were those.
That's crazy. No rock and roll.
Well, I had it, but my folks didn't have it. So you know, when they were younger, you would have had the swing stuff, the Woody Herman and
big band, big jazz band.
Yeah, big band and that stuff there. You know, and I mean there were. I mean, obviously there was blues, but there wasn't no blues in our house or anywhere we were at. So, it would have been early on the Everly Brothers, Ricky Nelson, Elvis, things like that.
Awesome. So what about like hearing Beatles and the Rolling Stones for the first time?
Right. That would have, so at my age, which I think I was born at the perfect time, you know, timing, because with the Everly Brothers and all that kind of stuff. So when the Beatles came out in '64, I was in the 5th grade, and the Ed Sullivan Show, September 9th, 1964.
So this is like I Want to Hold Your Hand. Right. Beatles, it was just
real
perfect. You said 5th grade?
Yeah, so you're
perfect.
in 5th grade, you're, you know, all the adolescent lyrics and all that, the I Want to Hold Your Hand, and she was just 17 and all that, really, that stuff, for somebody that's in the 5th grade, it's fine, you know, so, and then, you know, the progression, I'm at the, you know, I go into junior high school, so now we're starting to go into, you know, the Paperback Writer and Rain and Mod Clothes, and so as I make that shift into that.
Because you kind of evolved with the Beatles and that culture.
Right, because as their music progressed, the Revolver and the Sgt. Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour and all that. So it's like junior high school for me, the Mod Clothes and all that. So then going to the high school, which you're starting to go into the White Album in that period. So, you know. You can't really say enough about the, there's something about the years, 1968 and 69. I mean, when you really look at what those 2 years produced, it's staggering what those 2 years alone produced.
That's amazing.
We can go through these records. Corey's got the records. He's keeping vinyl alive. Thank God somebody is. You know. Yeah, it's staggering what's produced in those 2 years alone. I mean, going from, you know, early 60s, you would have had the, you know, Elvis had come back from the army and he's making movies, and so you would have had the, you know, Elvis and Frankie Avalon and those beach things at the early part of the decade, and then and to close it out with stuff like In the Court of Crimson King and you know, things like that. That's pretty amazing. That, They landed on the moon, didn't hurt, but you know.
Right, and then 68, 69, you're talking about all these different roads.
Everything come out there, everything come out
right?
there. Yeah, I mean,
and from there sprung almost everything you hear, even up to today, right?
I think so. I mean, you know, I think so. Well, seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan show, the impact of that. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that the impact of that's like a comet hit the planet, you know, and all of a sudden, because they weren't like Buddy Holly, where you had a front singer, Elvis and Buddy Holly, and those groups where you had a front singer, they were just had a backup band with a front singer. I mean, the Beatles come on, and it's just, you know, they were a band, you know, that wall, and all of a sudden you seen that, and you're like, oh my God, you know, everybody wanted to be in a band, you know, that garage movement sprung out of that, and just seeing them on that was just unbelievable, and you know, it catapulted Ludwig drums. I think they might have been kind of struggling, but Ringo had that Ludwig drum kit, and they, from overnight, yeah, I mean, they went to 3 shifts. They couldn't produce enough of these drums, you know, because it was, everybody had to have that, and the box amps, and all that stuff, and the Beatle boots. If you could get your hands on Beatle boots, you were really something.
Nice.
Yeah, you were really something. You know, I've always thought that just lucky. I mean, I was so lucky to actually just been on this wave that just as I was maturing through elementary school, through junior high, to high school, and post high school, and all that. As I was maturing, and I'm just riding that wave because the music was maturing at the same time. So when you go from the I Want to Hold Your Hand, Beatles stuff, and the early Stone stuff, and all that, and to what, you know, to the Court of Crimson King, and then the Prog movement, all those guys, the English guys, which I always kind of like the English guys, and the early '70s stuff, the jazz fusion stuff, so where they took the the power of rock and put it in with the intellectualness of the jazz.
Passport.
I always loved that. They're a great German band. But all that whole fusion movement, the Herbie Hancock stuff, and you know, I mean, Miles was bringing that in early in the Bitches Brew '69 movement, but the Mob Vision Orchestra and all that stuff, you know. I know some people didn't like that, you know, it's pompous and things, but the Yes, and all the it's got the landscapes and of music and the layering and all that. You know, we loved it. So, and I was just lucky to be able to ride that wave. I mean, the wave's still there. It's just it's all been I'm always hesitant to say, but you know, it kind of has all been done. But it's nothing wrong with continuing it, I guess. So, you know, Ed Sullivan's not going to play. The Beatles aren't going to play the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time again. You know,
that's a good point.
I'm amazed at the young crowd. I mean, there's always a young crowd of young kids that are into that stuff. You know, I mean, you'll see them in Beatle T-shirts and Doors T-shirts and things. You know, like and they. Somehow it's being carried on, you know, and there's something in it that they find in it. I think that's pretty cool. I always dug that, you know. And some kid right now doing it somewhere, listening to Pink Floyd, or early Pink Floyd and things, you know.
I remember wearing like Pink Floyd shirts in the '90s,
right,
or late '80s, and in the '90s, and older guys would come up to me, "What do you know about that?
Right.
What do you have that on?" Right. But you know, in the back of their mind, they're probably like, "Yeah, okay, that's kind of cool.
Right.
They're gonna keep it going, right?"
Yeah.
Good. See, there's a little bit of hope there after the Beatles won't play the Ed Sullivan again.
Well, there is. Yeah, there was. Well, I mean, that Pink Floyd stuff, you know, after the Dark Side of the Moon, what it did, you know.
It still sells.
It still sells. It's amazing. It's amazing. When we were listening to that, when it originally came out, I mean, that was, most people weren't hip to it, you know. I mean, that's not something everybody was talking about. So it was like this, you always had that little underground crowd of, like you still got, and some listening to things, you know. I remember listening to Pink Floyd was like, "You hip to Pink Floyd?" And I met you, like, like a badge of cool, you know. You know, right. Cheers.
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 Cheers.